Unveiling the Story of the Invisible Girl, a moral tale for teens. Once upon a time, in the bustling suburban town of Maplewood, there lived a girl named Emily Harper. She was 15 years old, a sophomore at Lincoln High School, and she felt invisible. It wasn't that she was transparent or possessed some supernatural ability to vanish. People could see her if they bothered to look, but Emily had perfected the art of fading into the background. With her quiet demeanor, her tendency to keep her head down, and her reluctance to speak unless spoken to, she drifted through life like a ghost, unnoticed and unremarkable. She wasn't bullied, nor was she unpopular in the loud, dramatic way that some teens were. She simply existed on the edges, a shadow in a world of bright lights. Emily's invisibility wasn't confined to the crowded hallways of Lincoln High. At home, her life was equally dim. Her parents, once a united front of love and support, were now locked in a bitter divorce. Their arguments echoed through the modest two-story house, filling the air with tension and leaving little room for Emily's voice. Her father, a hard-working accountant, stayed late at the office, while her mother, a nurse, picked up extra shifts to avoid being home. In the chaos of their unraveling marriage, Emily became an afterthought, a silent figure slipping past their distracted gazes. She would retreat to her room, closing the door on the shouting, and lose herself in the one place where she felt truly alive, her art. A sanctuary in art. Art was Emily's refuge, her secret world where she could pour out the emotions she kept locked inside. With a pencil or a paintbrush in hand, she transformed blank pages into windows to her soul. Her sketchbooks overflowed with drawings, delicate sketches of solitary figures, vibrant paintings of unreachable dreams, and abstract swirls of color that captured her loneliness, her longing for connection, and her desperate wish to be seen. She was undeniably talented, her work carrying a depth and maturity beyond her years. But despite this gift, Emily never shared her creations with anyone. The thought of exposing her innermost feelings to the world filled her with dread. What if people didn't understand? What if they laughed or judged her? It was safer, she reasoned, to keep her art and herself hidden away. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves outside her window turned shades of gold and crimson, Emily walked to school with her usual sense of detachment. The hallways of Lincoln High buzzed with energy, students laughing about weekend plans, gossiping about the latest drama, and shouting over one another in a cacophony of teenage life. Emily moved through the crowd like a whisper, her backpack slung over one shoulder, her eyes fixed on the scuffed linoleum floor. She slipped into her first period algebra class and took her usual seat in the back row, pulling out her notebook. As Mr. Grayson droned on about quadratic equations, Emily's mind wandered. Her pencil danced across the margins, sketching a girl standing alone in a crowded room, unseen by the chattering figures around her. An unexpected opportunity. It was during her third period art class that something shifted. Mr. Thompson, the art teacher, was a wiry man in his 40s with a passion for nurturing creativity. He had noticed Emily's talent early on, often catching glimpses of her sketches when she thought no one was looking. He'd praise her work in quiet moments, though she'd always blush and mumble a dismissal, uncomfortable with the attention. That day, as the class worked on still life drawings of apples and vases, Mr. Thompson clapped his hands to silence the room. "Attention, everyone," he said, his voice warm but firm. "I have exciting news. The school is hosting an art competition, open to all students. The winner will have their artwork displayed in the Maplewood Museum for an entire month. This is a chance to showcase your talent and let your voice be heard." The room erupted in excited whispers. Students exchanged glances. already imagining their pieces on display. Emily, however, felt a knot tighten in her stomach. The idea of entering the competition thrilled her. She could almost see her work hanging in a museum, but the thought of people seeing it, really seeing her, made her heart race with anxiety. As the class resumed their work, Mr. Thompson approached Emily's desk. She was hunched over her drawing, shading the curve of an apple with careful precision. He leaned down slightly, keeping his voice low so the others wouldn't hear. "You should enter, Emily," he said gently. "You have a gift. It deserves to be shared." Emily glanced up, her cheeks flushing pink. I I don't know," she stammered, her fingers tightening around her pencil. "I'm not sure if I'm good enough." Mr. Thompson smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Art isn't about being good enough. It's about expression. Your work has a voice, Emily. Don't keep it silent." His words lingered in her mind long after the bell rang, echoing through her thoughts as she moved through the rest of her day. Could she do it? Could she step out of the shadows and let the world see her art? The idea was both exhilarating and terrifying, a tug of war between courage and fear. A friend's encouragement. That afternoon, Emily confided in her only close friend, Sarah Martinez. Sarah was everything Emily wasn't: outgoing, confident, and always surrounded by a gaggle of friends. With her bright laugh and bold fashion choices, Sarah lit up any room she entered. Despite their differences, she had always been kind to Emily, sensing the quiet girl's need for connection even when Emily couldn't voice it herself. They sat together at lunch in their usual spot, a small table near the cafeteria windows, away from the louder crowds. Emily picked at her sandwich, her mind still wrestling with Mr. Thompson's suggestion, while Sarah chattered about her weekend plans. "You have to enter the competition," Sarah said suddenly, cutting through Emily's silence. "You're so talented, Em. People need to see what you can do." Emily looked up, startled. "But what if they don't like it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Sarah shrugged, popping a grape into her mouth. "So what? Art's subjective. Some people will love it, some won't. But that's not the point. The point is to be brave enough to share it. You can't hide forever." Emily bit her lip, considering Sarah's words. Maybe she was right. Maybe it was time to take a risk, to stop letting fear dictate her choices. After school, Emily walked home alone, the autumn wind tugging at her scarf. She climbed the stairs to her room, shutting the door on the muffled sound of her parents' latest argument drifting up from the kitchen. Sitting at her desk, she stared at her easel. A blank canvas rested there, pristine and waiting, daring her to make a mark. She thought about what she wanted to say, what message she wanted to send to a world that had never noticed her. Slowly, an idea began to take shape. A painting that would capture her feelings of invisibility, her longing to be seen, and her fragile hope for connection. The creation. For the next few weeks, Emily poured her heart into the painting. She worked late into the night, long after the house had fallen silent, her brush moving across the canvas with purpose. The image that emerged was powerful: a girl standing in the shadows, her face half obscured by darkness, gazing out at a vibrant, colorful world just beyond her reach. The girl's eyes shimmered with yearning, her posture hesitant yet hopeful, as if she were on the verge of stepping forward, but unsure if she dared. The shadows around her were deep and heavy, contrasting sharply with the bursts of color, reds, yellows, blues, that danced in the distance, symbolizing the life Emily craved but felt barred from. It was her soul laid bare, a silent cry for recognition. When the painting was finished, Emily stepped back and studied it. Titled Stepping into the Light, it was her best work yet, raw, emotional, and achingly beautiful. But as the competition deadline loomed, doubt crept in like a thief in the night. What if people didn't understand? What if they laughed or dismissed it? The fear was paralyzing, a weight pressing down on her chest. In the end, Emily made a compromise with herself. She would enter the competition, but anonymously. She submitted her painting without attaching her name, slipping it into the drop box outside the art room after hours. Her heart pounded as she walked away, a strange mix of relief and regret swirling inside her. Her art would be seen, but she could stay hidden. It felt like the best of both worlds, or perhaps the safest. The exhibition. The day the competition entries were displayed, the school's art gallery, a small room off the library, was packed with students, teachers, and even a few parents. Emily stood at the back, half hidden behind a bookshelf, her heart thudding as people moved from piece to piece. The walls were lined with artwork, bold abstracts, delicate watercolors, and intricate charcoal sketches, but it was her painting that seemed to draw the most attention. Wow, this is incredible, a junior named Mia said, pausing in front of stepping into the light. Look at the emotion in her eyes. Who did this one? Another student, Jake, asked, leaning closer to examine the brush strokes. It's anonymous, Mr. Thompson replied, joining the small crowd. The artist chose not to reveal their name. Emily held her breath, a flush of pride warming her cheeks. People loved her work. They saw what she'd been trying to say. But as she watched from her hiding spot, a pang of disappointment stabbed at her. They didn't know it was hers. She was still invisible, even in her moment of triumph. A few days later, the winners were announced during a school-wide assembly. Emily sat near the back of the auditorium, her hands clenched in her lap, as Principal Carter took the stage. The room was abuzz with anticipation, students whispering predictions about who might have won. And the first place winner of the Lincoln High Art Competition is... Principal Carter paused for effect. The anonymous artist behind the painting titled Stepping into the Light. The auditorium erupted in applause. Emily's heart soared, a grin tugging at her lips despite her nerves. Her painting had won. She'd done it. But as the clapping died down, the principal continued, and her excitement turned to ice. We respect the artist's wish to remain anonymous, he said, but we'd like to invite them to come forward and accept their award. This is a moment to be celebrated, and we'd love to recognize the talent behind this remarkable piece. Emily's pulse quickened. She hadn't expected this. She thought she could stay hidden, that her anonymity would shield her from the spotlight. Now the entire school was waiting, hundreds of eyes scanning the crowd, wondering who the mysterious artist could be. Sarah, seated beside her, nudged her gently. It's you, Em. You have to go up there. Emily shook her head, panic rising in her chest. I can't. I'm not ready. But you are, Sarah whispered fiercely. You've already taken the first step by entering the competition. Now it's time to let them see you. Emily glanced around the room. She saw a group of popular girls, led by Chloe Evans, a junior with a sharp tongue and a sharper ego, whispering among themselves. Chloe raised her hand, smirking as if about to claim the prize. Anger flared in Emily's chest. She couldn't let someone else take credit for her work, her heart, her story. Stepping into the light. With a deep, shaky breath, Emily stood up. Her legs felt like jelly as she made her way down the aisle, the weight of everyone's gaze pressing down on her. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Who's that? Is that Emily Harper? And she kept her eyes fixed on the stage, willing herself not to turn back. When she reached the front, Principal Carter smiled warmly and handed her the microphone. For a moment, Emily froze, the words caught in her throat like a trapped bird. The auditorium was silent, waiting. She thought of her painting, of the girl stepping out of the shadows, and something inside her clicked. She found her voice. "Hi, I'm Emily," she said, her voice trembling slightly, but growing steadier with each word. "I'm the artist behind Stepping into the Light. I painted it because that's how I felt for a long time. Invisible. Like no one could see me, at school or even at home. But art helped me say what I couldn't, and I guess I just wanted to be seen." There was a brief silence, a heartbeat of stillness, and then the room exploded in applause. Emily's classmates, who had barely noticed her before, were now cheering for her. Tears pricked her eyes as she felt a rush of emotions: relief, pride, and something she hadn't felt in years: visibility. As she stepped off the stage, clutching her certificate, students swarmed around her. Mia from the gallery complimented her use of color. Jake asked how she'd gotten the shadows so perfect. Even Chloe, looking slightly sheepish, muttered a grudging, "Nice job." For the first time, Emily felt like she belonged. A new beginning. In the days that followed, Emily's life began to change. People who had never spoken to her before now greeted her in the hallways, asking about her art or inviting her to sit with them at lunch. She joined the art club at Mr. Thompson's urging, where she met other students who shared her passion, quiet dreamers and bold creators alike. She even started tutoring a freshman named Liam, who felt invisible in his own way, passing on the courage she'd found. But the most significant change came at home. Inspired by her newfound bravery, Emily decided to confront the silence that had grown between her and her parents. One evening, after a rare dinner where they'd all sat together, she gathered her strength and spoke. "Mom, Dad, I need to tell you something," she began, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "I know you've been going through a lot with the divorce, but I've been feeling really alone, like I'm invisible to you both." Her parents exchanged guilty glances. Her mother reached out, taking Emily's hand. "Oh, honey, we're so sorry. We never meant to make you feel that way." "We've been so caught up in our own mess," her father added, his voice thick with regret, "that we didn't see how much it was hurting you." Emily pulled out her painting, which she'd brought home from school, and set it on the table. "This is what I made for the competition," she said. "It's how I've felt, like I'm stuck in the shadows, watching everyone else live in the light." Her parents studied the artwork, their eyes tracing the girl's hesitant stance, the yearning in her gaze. Tears welled up in her mother's eyes, and her father rubbed a hand over his face, shaken. "We had no idea," her mother whispered. "You're so talented, Emily, and we've been missing it." They talked late into the night, really talked, for the first time in months. Emily told them about the competition, her fears, and how stepping forward had changed her. Her parents admitted their mistakes, promising to be more present, to listen, and to support her through the divorce. They agreed to start family therapy, and though the road ahead would still be rocky, Emily felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She wasn't invisible to them anymore. A light of her own. In the weeks that followed, Emily's world grew brighter. At school, she thrived, her confidence blossoming with each new piece she created. Her painting hung in the Maplewood Museum, drawing visitors who left notes of admiration in the guest book. At home, her parents kept their word, making time for her even amid their separate lives. They attended her art club exhibitions, their pride evident in every smile. The story of the invisible girl was no longer one of loneliness and isolation. It had become a tale of courage, self expression, and the power of stepping into the light. Emily had learned that being seen wasn't just about others noticing her. It was about having the bravery to show herself to the world, flaws and all. One quiet afternoon, as winter crept into Maplewood, Emily sat at her easel once more. She began a new painting, a girl stepping fully out of the shadows, her face illuminated by a radiant glow, her eyes alight with determination. It was a self-portrait, a testament to her journey, and a promise to never hide again. And so, the once invisible girl became a beacon of inspiration, a reminder to every teen who felt overlooked that they too had a light within them, a light worth sharing with the world. Moral of the tale: this story teaches that everyone has value, even those who feel unseen. Sometimes, the greatest challenge is overcoming our own fears to let others see who we truly are. Through courage, self-expression, and open communication, we can step out of the shadows and find our place in the light, both in the world and within our families. Emily's journey shows that invisibility is often a choice, and by embracing our uniqueness, we invite others to see us too.